Hi, I'm KS Garner, and you're listening to the solonerdbirdpod podcast. Today, I'll be speaking with one of the creators and writers behind the graphic novel series Deaths, Wells Thompson, here to promote book one, currently on Kickstarter. Welcome back, Wells.
Hey, nice to be back. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, no problem. Thanks for joining us again. And it's insane if you've been listening to the show for however long. This must be your first episode if you don't know who Wells is. But if you don't know, Wells, who are you in your own words?
Yeah, I'm a comic book writer and cat rescuer and massively stressed out individual. Yeah, I've been writing for probably the good 15 years, and I've been writing comics for the last 6 or 7 of those. Starting out with ash cans, and now I have full on ongoing series published through Scout. So it's been an incredible transformation, but yeah, no, that's who I am.
So Deaths, what is this series about? And this is book one, but how many books should readers be expecting?
2. So Deaths is originally, we wanted it as a full book, as one book, but we had to split it into 2 for practical purposes. As much as we would absolutely love the ability to go out there and make a 224-page massive graphic novel, $40,000 is a little bit too much to ask for people, and completely understandably so. So we figured we split it in half. We get the first half out. It's got its own kind of arc to it and its own really meaty hook. But the first 112 pages, and then we do the back half later after we establish the story really, really well. But Depths is a graphic novel about Emil Parker, a 1930s engineer that builds a perpetual diving suit and gets trapped underwater for 3 years. And it's about his struggle to survive. It's about his friends looking for him on the surface, and what that means for his mental health. Spoiler alert, it's bad.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I don't even want to. But this series is much more different than what you and Dalton typically write. Dalton Shannon is the other half of the writing team. But with explicit topics of depression, anxiety, and grief, while struggling to survive thousands of feet in the deep blue sea, how much of your own experiences did, I guess, either of you, I don't know if you can speak on Dalton, but how much of your own experience did you insert into this novel?
Well, I have also been surviving at the bottom of the ocean for 3. This is a cry for help. Now, obviously, like there's a fantastical element to it, but it's also a really deeply personal story. This is something that we both kind of felt in our bones we had to tell. It's ultimately a story about grief and loss and dealing with depression and kind of feeling like you're stuck and trapped and like you're struggling to move forward. That's the kind of thing I've been struggling with my entire life. That sort of search for meaning, search for identity, and just generally, like, if you have anxiety, just the gnawing feeling that like you're not good enough, or you're not doing as much as you can. You need to be doing more, and then you burn yourself out, and you end up in a worse place than you would have been if you had just chilled out for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And I mean, this came the impetus behind the story was Dalton, my writing partner, who we wrote Frankenstein the Unconquered together. We wrote Descent into Dread together. We wrote Mechaton together. But this was the first thing we actually wound up writing together. It started when he went after college. We both graduated, and he was living on his own for the first time, away from his girlfriend, away from his parents, in an apartment complex. He didn't have a job. He wound up getting a job as like a handyman for the apartment complex. He is not good with tools. So this was like already a bad situation. He was just trying to learn on the job and figure it out. And he was working for, 10 hours a day, and then coming home and collapsing into the couch and going to bed and waking up and doing it again. And he did that for about a month. And then he broke down and called his parents and moved back home. And in that sort of like deep hurt sort of spawned the idea for Depths. about this guy who is stuck, who's literally trapped underwater and can't get out. And then like people have a really romantic notion of like depression and mental illness, like like it somehow makes you a more creative person. It does not. It is strictly a hindrance. So he came up with the idea for it, but it just sort of sat there for a little while. And it wasn't until he reached out to me, and we sort of formed a partnership and started talking with each other and helping each other out and workshopping our work, that he came to me with the idea and said, hey, I have this thing. I don't really know what it is, but I like it and I want to work on it. And we started working together and sort of built it up together as like, oh, this is what we're trying to explore, these feelings that we've both had our entire lives. So yeah, we like to say it was born out of depression, but really it was born out of collaboration and sort of working together. Which is sort of the ultimate, I think, message of the book, is that you have to look for others. You have to figure out a way to reach out.
It's like, as creators, artists, writers, what have you, we try to use our art as a way of escaping our struggles, but I feel like in a way, deaths was a way for you both to kind of acknowledge, I guess, your current or even past trauma and work through it in a way, both individually and together. So how much of a struggle, if any, was it to divorce yourself from Emil and James while writing about them?
We just didn't. Yeah, no. So like, I at least feel this about myself, that I'm a total hack. I only really write about what is right and what I'm doing right now, what's right in front of me. And like anyone that knows me, when I bring a story to them, they read it and they're like, yeah, this just happened to you. And it kind of takes on a life of its own, and I'm trying to explore something else with it. But yeah, no, I'm very bad at trying to kind of create something new that I haven't experienced and haven't had the ability to really like think about and live in for a little while. I think I took that writing advice, like write what you know, and like a little too seriously. And it actually, like you said earlier, that it's a bit of a departure from what we normally write, which is Mechaton, which is a very fun all ages series. Frankenstein the Unconquered, extremely over the top horror action. I think the truth of that, at least to me, is that those are the departures, and this book is what I've always been doing, is very grounded, character focused, maybe a touch of like magical realism, but like heavy thematic drama is what I've done my entire writing career. And it's just now that this story is allowed to come up to the surface and show itself. But yeah, no, this is very much my wheelhouse.
So, I mean, as you said, you've been pretty much writing for like the last 15 years. You just got into comics maybe like 7 or 8 years ago. And then, as you just mentioned, this is what you were both working on initially, but then you kind of didn't really know what to do with it. You wanted to work on it and collaborate more on it before you were ready to really put it out there and to do anything. So why did you both think now was the time to openly discuss and launch Deaths? And how did you learn to trust yourself as a writer, that you knew you would be able to write and describe such topics appropriately and maturely?
Well, we've been sitting on this script for a while now. I think we did 4 or 5 drafts of it from beginning to end. So we had a lot of time to look, to make sure that we were doing it right, and to kind of bring it to life the way that we wanted to. The sort of the two things that made it possible now are, on the one hand, as I said, it's been sitting there, and the sort of the benefit of working with a partner, with a creative partner, another writer, is that they get to be honest with you. If you're writing a novel, say, by yourself, you have an instinctual urge to not believe yourself when you read it and you say, this is good, this is working. And for good reason. You can't, if you're this close to something, it's really hard to see the full picture. And even when you hire an editor, you always have that nagging doubt in the back of your mind, like, if they tell you it's good or it's working, like how much of that is just, you're paying them to say that. Exactly. Where Dalton and I's, no, and that's a me problem. That's not an editor problem. I don't think that editors actually do that. That's just like, you always are going to have those doubts sort of is it actually good enough, or is, that happening? But when Dalton's there and he's, I present him with his work, he has he doesn't care about hurting my feelings. We rib each other all the time. And I've brought him scripts and stories that he's gone, this is bad. This is like point blank, just like, this doesn't work. Please don't pursue this anymore. And I'm like, great, I needed to hear that. Thank you. So there's a lot more trust inherently in that. When we both read over it and are saying, this is good, this really works, we get to believe each other a little bit more. So that's always been really nice as a part of our partnership. But also we have the benefit of, we've been working on this for years, and sometimes you put it away for a while. And when you come back to it, you read over it, you're like, I forgot how good this was. Like it's not reading it and having all these doubts, it's reading it and being like, wow, we crushed it. Like, this is going to be incredible. Yeah. So there's that, like, there's the confidence that like we have both a lot of drafts and a trust in each other, and the benefit of hindsight to say, this is a good script and we can do it. The other thing was like purely logistical and financial. If we had come to Kickstarter, a little over 2 years ago when we started doing this and said, hey, here's our 112-page, $20,000 project. You've never heard of us before. What do you say? I think we would have made about $500 and been laughed out of the room. Like, very few people are actually going to trust that pitch, and completely reasonably. So, putting out 5 issues of Mechaton, putting out 2 issues of Frankenstein the Unconquered, built a lot of trust in our audience and in our readership, that gave us the ability to put this out in earnest and have people trust that we could land the plane, that we could make something so big, and that we could tell it competently, and that they were going to be really happy and satisfied with it by the end of it. And then I guess the sort of third thing is environmental. We all just went through one of the most isolating collective events that we've ever been through. We all just shared trauma together, and I don't think we've taken the time to process it. COVID hit a lot of people really hard. I feel a little weird saying that, because it was one of the most fulfilling times of my entire life, was getting to stay home and work on stuff and not worry about, having a part-time job or to support myself. So ironically, I got a lot out of it, and didn't feel necessarily as isolated as a lot of other people did. But I'm definitely the exception there. We have all felt this way in one way or another, whether it's personally or whether it's, through quarantine, this feeling of being trapped and isolated and not knowing how to move forward, but knowing that you have to get out. And so I feel like this is a story that now more than ever is going to resonate with people. So yeah, it's the right time in every metric, I feel, to tell this story. Yeah.
When I think back on, the lockdown during the height of COVID, it was the same thing for me. Creatively, mentally, it was great for me.
Yeah, it's freeing. It was amazing.
Yeah, it wasn't until getting back into back into society and having to readjust and kind of just go with however it came, because people are still trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing, as far as like work and, sending their kids to school, and if there's going to be any toilet paper left, whatever. And I think that, for me, and maybe for some other people, that was like the suffocating part.
Mm.
The really big struggle was the readjustment, because a lot of us prefer the solitude in a way, and then some people like to be out and about and like to socialize, extrovert versus introvert type of stuff. So yeah, and then back to what you mentioned about writing and putting stuff away that you wrote a long time ago and then rereading it. I just reread one of my books, my second one, because the first one, I probably shouldn't say this, the first one I actually kind of hated. But the second one, the sequel to it, I loved it. I was like, holy shit, like the difference in it.
Yeah.
I trusted myself more in my writing, and you could see that in a way, right? The growth in it.
For sure.
Like, holy shit, this is actually really good. I was actually enjoying what I was reading.
Yeah, that's always an incredible feeling when you hit that moment as a creator that you and I think there's a natural inclination, like anything you did more than like 2 or 3 years ago, you kind of naturally sort of despise and like, oh, do I even like this anymore or whatever. But like when you can go back and read something and go, oh wow, I'm actually kind of surprising myself, this is really good. I think that's one of the more fulfilling things that happens to that any creator can experience with enough practice.
Yeah. But you got to put in the practice, which I think
for
a lot of people are so afraid of doing. I was like, well, you got to start. You're going to be bad at first. Like everybody's bad at when they first start. It's just with the experience and with the time, I think that's how you learn to trust yourself. I've been talking to a lot of other people about how they deal with things and want to dive into sensitive topics in their writing or in their work, whatever it may be. And it all comes down to, the experience, building the experience, with yourself from the work and then, your audience. And it's just, trusting yourself really and trusting your audience, wherever, that may be, that they can handle this and that they know that you're going to do well. Again, like you said, you pretty much built a fan base, or readership is probably the better word to use, with all the other things that you and Dalton have done.
Right.
Yeah. But outside of working on depths, how well do you find balance for your life? How do you typically manage your mental well-being when you become stressed, frustrated, or overwhelmed? Or did you just put it all into depths and was like, I don't have to deal with it, I'll put it all in here?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I'm still trying to kind of figure that out myself. Especially now and like in this moment. I don't know exactly what the combination of things leading up to it is, but it could be that we're doing depths and this is a very personal story and I'm stressed out about it. It could be that we just made a major move to a new city and getting a new job and trying to navigate all that at the same time is very stressful. Honestly, I like had a major depressive episode in the last week that was genuinely kind of frightening for me. So it's not necessarily something that like, I'm over or how I, fully manage it as something I have to kind of take in stride every day and try and figure out, what best way to manage in the moment. Some days are hard and that's all there is to it. I definitely put a lot of myself into depths. And when I talk about like, having anxiety and having depression, that's not a, in the past thing. That's a very, that's a very constantly, sort of dealing with that, which is one of the things, frankly, in the book that I wanted to explore is, depths are, the point of depths is to get out of the ocean, is to make it back on land, but that in and of itself isn't going to fix a mill and fix his problems. Those are the kinds of things that he has to worry about when he gets back and do the hard work of fixing, outside of just surviving, which is unfair, frankly, but it is reality. I don't have, I wish I did have a more concrete answer for like, how do you manage that? Because sometimes I feel like I know, and sometimes I lose all of it, like all at once. But I know that working on books and working on comics and getting feedback from people who say that they really like my books and that it makes a difference to them, that helps a lot. That makes me feel like I'm doing something worthwhile, and it makes me want to move forward. I think we all need like a sense of purpose, a sense of I'm doing what I should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it's hard, like the hardest moments of my life comes when I am sort of denied that. When I feel like I'm not allowed to do that thing that I feel like I should be doing, that I should be allowed, or that I feel like I'm best at doing, that I feel like impacts people. Whether it's economically or spatially or whatever the case may be. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now, is just trying to sort of maintain that sense of what I'm doing is good, and the things that I'm talking about matter and are impacting people in a positive way. And whatever I can do to keep doing that is worthwhile.
Yeah, for me, when I think about my own struggles with anxiety and depression, I guess it for me, it's like it doesn't go away. Like, it's never gonna go away. It's just I have to find better coping mechanisms in a way of how to deal with it, whether it's talking with someone or maybe doing something creative, maybe just trying to get some fresh air, stepping away from something that's not working anymore, whether it's a job or certain people, things like that. For me, writing and even reading kind of gets me away, kind of gets me out of my head in a way. Those gets away from those intrusive thoughts. I mean, that's just what I try to do, and knowing that it's not gonna go away kind of gives me a little bit of like reassurance. Like, there is no cure for this. I don't need to find a cure for it. Like, even if I do take medications for it, even if I do talk to someone about it regularly, it's not gonna go away
for sure.
And like I said, it's kind of reassuring in a way, and almost certain. We're in a life where what we do is really uncertain in a way. Like, we don't really know where this stuff is going, but we just keep going. Whereas it's kind of like it's not the same. Someone who may have like a terminal illness or something, like, or the doctors tell you, you have 6 months, you have a year, 2, 3 years, whatever left. And it sounds scary, but there's a bit of certainty that's there that we don't really have in life in a way. So it's
I see that. Like, if you know it's there, you can plan for it. That's absolutely true.
You can plan for it, and like I said, it's more of how you deal with it and how you find ways to deal with it while also trying to live your life in a way.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, that's how I try to think of it. I'm rambling. I don't know.
No, I was gonna say this has turned into therapy, but that's okay. Sometimes we need that. It's a process. It's never something that's solved. And if my recent pandemic obsession with chess has taught me anything, it's that puzzles can't be solved. They're always interesting, but sometimes will drive you absolutely insane and are the kind of things that make you hate yourself a little bit. I'm saying I'm a bad sport. don't play chess with me.
I've never won a game of chess. But I love playing chess. I've taught my brother how to play chess, and like I said, I've never won a game, but I would love to play. Even though I always play the knight first. It's my thing.
You play the ready system?
Yeah, and
I'm a London player, so I'm scum, but but I like it. It's solid, it's simple.
yeah, I mean, I like chess. I don't know, I guess it's the puzzle aspect of it.
Yeah.
So
No, it's endlessly fascinating. There's
yeah.
there's so many different aspects of it that I love, but that's, neither here nor there.
Well, is there anything that you want to touch on that we didn't about deaths as a whole? Maybe discuss
Sure.
for potential backers.
Absolutely. So you can first of all, you can, aside from just depths, you can pick up any of my other books, Frankenstein the Unconquered, Mechaton, Descent into Dread, which is our first book that we ever published. It's a collection of shorts, of horror anthology or horror short stories, and it actually features. I'll show the first appearance of these characters that we ever published. So the same setting, underwater, trapped in this perpetual diving suit in a short story that was drawn by Serge Acuna. So that's sort of a fun bit of growth, I guess, of this story and how it developed. But we have, a bunch of books that I've written and been on. So if you want to grab a whole bunch of books at the same time, just pile up your reading, your to read list. You can absolutely do that. But we include tiers for people of all, support types. So if you just want to chip in, $10 gets you the first chapter. You can first 28 pages, whet your appetite, see if you like it, come back for more later. $20 gets you the full digital copy, 112 pages, and then you have your paperback and the variant cover for 30 and 40 respectively. You got a hardback for 50, and you can get up to we have rewards going up to $1,000 of stuff from like commissions from the artist, all of the add-ons that are relating to the book put into one place at a discounted rate. We've got a draw me in tier, so if you want to be in the book, we will find a way to slip you in. As a background character with a line of dialogue, or as an entire minor character, we have a couple of slots for as well. So all of that is available for you. If you're the kind of person that likes to go really big on these campaigns, we have rewards that are appropriate for that. If you just want to show your support, we're here for it too. We have everything you could want. Mm-hmm. We also have some of the best covers that we've ever made on this book. Heather Vaughn did an incredible job with the hardcover, and Serge Acuna has this great depiction of a giant squid pulling Emil down into the depths that just perfectly sort of captures the stakes of the book and how intense it is at times. So I love all of the art surrounding it. Tina Sola, my friend from Nashville, made this beautiful piece that we're selling as a print that is the campaign image of Emil in this beautiful underwater landscape with these gorgeous bright neon colors, just a speck in the frame, essentially showing how absolutely dominated he is by his space, but it still is gorgeous, and I would definitely hang it in my house, and probably will once we get it printed.
Well, are you in Dalton, or either of you, are you attending any cons as a vendor this year? And I guess where can people find you online to keep up with all these Kickstarters?
Absolutely. The cons are a little bit slow this year for us, but we are going to Fan Expo in St. Louis at the end of June or July. I forget which. So keep an eye out for that. We really want to be at Arkansas Comic-Con and Mississippi Comic-Con if we can. Those two shows are great for us. We just haven't heard back yet whether or not we got the booth. So fingers crossed on that one. But we're looking to do more local stuff at our local comic shops and smaller cons around the Midwest area. So if you're from the Chicago area, keep an eye out, because I just did a show at Gmart during Free Comic Book Day, and it was, no joke, one of my best shows I've ever done. I've been to fan expos, I've been to Wizard World when it was a thing. We've done we've done some really massive conventions, and just the energy of a small local comic shop bringing people in, emotionally one of the best shows I've ever done, financially one of the best shows I've ever done. It was incredible. So yeah, we're definitely looking to do more of that in the near future. Online, you can find me on Twitter at Wells Thomp, just my name minus the last 3 letters. We have a newsletter called Comics, Cats, and Cocktails that you can check out. It's once a month. We don't spam your inbox or anything. And you can sign up for that at my website, wellsthompson.com. I just started a TikTok, Wells_Thompson. I don't know how intense I'm going to go into that, but if you want to see videos of me alternatively reviewing comics and saying dumb stuff, you can absolutely see that. And always check Kickstarter. If this is past the month of May, that's fine. We will probably be promoting another one shortly after. We're always trying to get the next project started. So keep an eye out. And again, you can find all of my work here on Kickstarter. You can find it on my website. You can find it on ko-fi.com. All of my the books that we've done on Kickstarter are available, or you can just go there and buy me a coffee. I'm cool with that too.
How does it pronounce? Ko-fi? Is that how you pronounce it?
I think it's pronounced coffee, but I always say ko-fi so that people like spell it correctly. It's ko-fi.com. But the idea is, it's you support a creator that you like. There is a marketplace there, but you can also just donate directly to them if you want.
Yeah, I have one too. I just never knew how to pronounce it. I thought it was coffee, and then the word lo-fi is out, and then so ko-fi. I have no idea. So
it has a branding problem, but I see what they were going for.
And I guess just to add on a little bit what you said about staying local, that's what I've been trying to tell people when they start, selling their stuff and vending, is to try to start out locally, because you try to go to these big things like I did Baltimore Comic-Con. And I just made my money back from the table that Sunday after being there. But if I do these local things at gaming stores, gaming lounges, or your local comic shop, or just a small one-day festival type thing, like a book festival or whatnot, I get my money back from the table times 2.
They might not even charge you for a table sometimes. They'll just be happy to have you in, and then you make you wind up making $500, and you're like, why don't I do this all the time?
Exactly, because a lot of times these small things aren't really advertised as big as the other stuff. And I feel like people who are just starting out, they feel like they have to go big, even with, there's a reason why you and Dalton didn't do a $20,000 goal initially, because it's you knew it wasn't going to work. You had to do these smaller things first.
And I mean,
even readership.
Even the goals that we were doing starting out were in retrospect entirely too big. I think our first campaign was $6,000, which that isn't unreasonable for a campaign, or for trying to get a comic up and running, but for a first time Kickstarter, that we should have gone a lot lower. We should have gone $2,000-$3,000 and seen how that went, but it worked out. We have yet to fail a campaign. We have yet to fail to achieve funding, and we're really hoping to continue that trend. Whether or not we do another massive $20,000 campaign, we'll see how we feel after this one. But but regardless, we're hoping to keep the streak alive.
Oh, well, is there anything else that you wanted to discuss with the listeners and your readers, or anything else you wanted to mention?
I guess just to touching on the theme of what we've been talking about, if you're feeling, if this is resonating you and you're in that place right now, or you feel like you can't get out, it is only temporary. And the best way I find to get out of that place is to reach out, is to connect with people, find people who understand you, that you can talk to, because self-isolating is what ultimately is going to lead you to go further and further down the path that you don't want to be on. So don't be afraid to reach out to a friend. Don't be afraid to reach out. If that's your parents, great. If that's a friend, great. If that's like a counselor or a teacher or someone, if it's a stranger on Twitter, reach out, do what you can. But don't bear that alone. You don't have to do that. You shouldn't have to do that. So yeah, that's my piece for the day is don't be afraid to reach out and make those connections wherever you can.
Yeah, exactly. Well, again, I want to thank Wells Thompson, one of the creators and writers behind the graphic novel series Deaths, for joining us here today to promote book 1 on Kickstarter. All of Wells' socials and website will be listed in this episode's details, alongside the Kickstarter link for those who are interested. Again, I'm KS Garner, and you've been listening to the Solo Nerd Podcast. Thank you.
You're welcome.